karate is in the Olympics, finally. And today we are changing things up to celebrate that Olympic debut, the Olympic debut of karate. We're going to talk about karate competition in tournaments. Is karate competition good for you? Is it good for the student? Is it good for the athlete, the coach? Is it good for the parents? Is it good for the officials? Is karate competition good for karate do? I'm going to cover my five pros and cons of karate competition today on Black Belt Life. Hi folks, I'm Darren Myers and thank you for joining me today on Black Belt Life. For those of you who are new to the channel, please feel free to give us a thumbs up if you like our subject today and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss upcoming shows. Alright, so let's get right into this. Is karate competition good for a karate student? So, well, first let's talk about the types of competition and tournaments that are out there. Now, I am mainly referring to open tournaments and traditional tournaments. There are many other types, of course, of martial art competitions out there like MMA, K1, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, grappling, Karate Combat League, and many more. A lot of exciting different types of competition. But we're talking about those today that are the tournaments that the majority of karate practitioners in most karate dojo compete in on a regular basis. Now, I'm only going to refer to the two main types of competition today, which are kata, or forms, as people call them, and kumite, which is the sparring. Now, there are many other types of competitions, such as breaking and weapons and self-defense and demonstration divisions, and they just go on and on. But anyway, open karate tournaments are those put on usually by independent promoters or under such organizations like the ISKA, the AKA, USA Sport Karate, DMV Sport Karate League, and many, many others. Most of these events are more about a show in very colorful uniforms where the competitors perform their forms with karate techniques combined with gymnastic type movements of flips, jump, spins, and constant yelling. These competitors don't take anything away from them. They're incredible athletes with skills that I never learned and would be concerned about trying at my age now. But the sparring competition can range greatly in rules from one tournament to the next and usually looks a bit wild by my personal standards, and that's just my opinion. Now, traditional karate tournaments have everyone in traditional white uniforms, white gi, performing from traditional karate kata lists from the major styles. And differentiating one traditional pattern or changing the pattern is frowned upon and actually against some of the rules from organizations such as the AAU, USA Karate, USAKF, WKF, WUKF, and others. And the kumite or sparring usually has minimal protective gear with a greater focus on established rules set forth by the promoting organization. And a lot of these organizations also have a very strict training program for the officials. So, now that we've established what we're talking about, is karate good for a karate practitioner? I personally believe, along with many other instructors, that karate can be a sport and an art form. Now, what's the difference between the two of those? Well, karate do is the art of the empty hand. The way focuses on self-development of the individual. These concepts date back to the days of like the samurai warrior and the warrior's code, or Bushido. In today's modern world, the code is taught from the first day a child steps onto the mat to take their first karate class. And they say, now you have to learn how to bow and to maybe say yes sir, or maybe say os. They may not even realize it, but through the constant kicks and punches, they are learning about focus to do well in school, determination to never give up, confidence to face the hardships in life, perseverance to always try their best, and discipline to bring out the best in themselves and others, as well as honor to do the things they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do them, and respect for themselves and others. Now, through continuous testing for belts, they learn about goal setting, practicing for perfection, confidence to perform under pressure, and the rewards of hard work. The goal in traditional training is to be better technically, physically, mentally, and emotionally than you were the day before, without the pressure of competing against others. So you're moving at your own pace. Now, sports side of karate has many of those same benefits as traditional training, but with the emphasis on winning in competition. Athletes develop the confidence to perform in front of others with their training focusing on scoring to win. Athleticism is emphasized greatly with effort put toward developing things like footwork and speed, timing, along with showmanship, because they are putting on a show. Now, should a person study sport karate or should they study the art of karate? The biggest difference I see is often not in what is taught, but what is the attitude of the instructors and how is that passed on to the students? What's the attitude of the students? Most karate do schools focus on techniques for self-defense or the applications of kata moves while emphasizing the humility, the honor, respect, and so forth. And many sport karate schools push the next tournament, ring strategy, and the winning of medals and trophies. Now, nothing wrong with that because kids love awards. Let's face it, they all like to get awards and trophies and medals. Now, some may concentrate, though, too much on winning, and there are a few Cobra Kai-like schools out there, so be on the lookout for those because they can be definitely pushing you in the wrong direction. Now, let's get into my pros and cons for competition. So let's talk about my 5 pros for competition. Number 1, hey, it's fun. There's no doubt about it. I loved competition. I enjoyed my competition days. And going to a competition, it's fun, it's exciting, there's full of energy. Also, the camaraderie of a dojo team going to compete is terrific team building and motivation for the newbies. Oh, big time. Most will compete and come away with great feelings of accomplishment. Now, number 2, sportsmanship. The right kind of event will emphasize honor and respect between competitors, coaches, and officials. Now, I believe this is so important for today's youth to see a positive sporting attitude instead of the hissy fits and the trash talking of some of our professional athletes and some other sports these days. That's very disappointing to me. Number 3, character building. Winning is awesome, and winning builds confidence, no doubt. There's nothing like the smile on the face of a child who just won their first medal. And I've had kids sleep with their medals. I think I've had some adults do that too. Athletes will not always win, and losing actually builds fortitude and the desire to try harder if they are coached properly. That never give up attitude is so important in life because you will probably lose at a lot of things in life. Life is not always fair. You don't always win. You don't always get a participation medal. I always tell students that there are no losers as long as they learn something and they gain experience. You can't expect to always go to your first tournament and win a trophy or medal. And some do, yeah, some do. Some do a very good job. But it's also important to learn by watching others who are better than yourself. So if you're watching people who are really, really good, or you're competing against people who are really strong, and you lose, hopefully you've learned from that experience. Now, number 4, goal setting. Setting a goal to be the best competitor possible and to do better in the next event is so motivating for an athlete. Athletes learn to set up training regimens and schedules to better their technique and get in stronger physical and mental condition. I remember when I was competing, every year at this particular tournament, it usually was me and a very good friend of mine going head to head. And he always would edge me in kata. And finally, I was like fed up with it. I said, I'm going to bust my tail. And I did. I busted my tail. I would work on kata before class. I worked on kata for hours after class. And I got to that tournament. And he got out there, did the same kata he usually did a very nice job, to say the least. I busted that kata out because I had practiced it so hard, still got second place. But many of my peers, many of the other instructors in it came up to me and said, that was a winning kata. And that was all I needed. I didn't need the medal, but I did the recognition from other people and from especially other competitors and of my peers. That was that said that I'd worked hard enough, and it was a good feeling. All right, number 5, gaining confidence. Competition, let's face it, it can be scary, especially for beginners, even for more advanced people. Learning to overcome their fears of getting up in front of people or possibly getting hit, which is possibly going to happen, teaches athletes to focus their nerves and adrenaline in a positive energy, which they will be able to turn on like a light switch. That's one thing my instructor always said, is I needed a light switch. I needed to be able to be calm and be myself beforehand, but then when I stepped in that ring, I needed that light switch to turn on and become samurai, become serious, become focused. Competition can push us out of our comfort zone also, of only like practicing at the dojo. Because if we perform kata in front of strangers and we're sparring people we're not used to sparring, that's going to help us grow as competitors and become better than we were ever before. All right, so let's talk about the cons. Let's talk about the other side of the coin here. So number 1, probably a point that a lot of martial art instructors would argue with me is lost traditions. Many would argue that the sport of karate is losing the essence of the art of karate. That may be true to some extent, and I would be one to say that it is very difficult to maintain BUDO or martial art traditions in such a modern, fast-paced, want it now, want fries with that, give me the biggie size kind of world. We have seen things like the Kumite Rules change from being able to grab and throw an opponent to now you can only grab them with one hand and try to throw them. What's with that? That eliminates so many techniques from the competition that we had before. And it eliminates techniques from karate. So if you're a competition school and you can't throw with 2 hands, you're not going to teach how to throw with 2 hands. We have seen kata change from what was tradition to what the judges want to see and what will win. For example, Shito uke, right? The knife hand strike has always been like this, or depending on the style, okay? Now, they want this hand, they have this hand way, way out there, okay? It's actually one of the world champions did that years ago and won, and so everybody started doing it. And now you don't see anybody doing the old style like this, especially in the advanced division, because this is what wins. Why are they changing the kata just to win? Is the application actually good? Probably don't even know what an application of that is. It just looks good. Number 2, poor judging coaching. And I gotta say, I am so happy to see karate in the Olympics, but so sad to see it happening during this pandemic year, of course. The competitors, they're ready. I mean, they've been practicing all year. They've been getting pumped. They are ready for this competition. Now, have the officials been doing the same? Well, don't you sharpen your officiating eyes for those blinding fast moves by being at events and watching and judging? Well, there haven't been very many events for over a year. So how good is the judging going to be? Makes you wonder a little bit about what's going to happen in the Olympics. Now, I'm hoping for the best, of course, and I'm sure they have tried to prepare to the best of their abilities for the circumstances. But I'm just happy that the WKF and other organizations like that try to train their officials and certify them, along with several other organizations. A lot of tournaments, they don't do that. They have a black belt meeting on the morning of, where they decide the rules that morning, and how they're going to change them. They're going to decide which techniques are legal, which aren't, etc. And then the coach has to get that information to the athletes right before they compete. How do you prepare for that? What is what if they decide your best technique is now illegal? I'll tell you about a tournament that I went to years ago, and it was an open tournament. And I went in there, and I'm, doing my thing and get up to going for first place. And this guy was wide open for one of my favorite techniques, which was to wait until he came in, sidestep, and blast him with a jabbing punch, a front hand jab. And, it was WKF kind of style, bang, and pull that hand all the way back. So, it was very, very technically as correct as possible, as I could do. And so I start off the match. Bang, hit this guy right in the chest. Okay, come back to the line. No point. I'm kind of like, okay. So start again. Bang, hit him with the same thing, a little harder this time, of course, so emphasize it. No point. I'm like, what in the world? So I go again. Bang! Hit the guy even harder, okay? No point. And the referee looks at me and goes, we don't score front hand jabs because they don't have any power. And I'm looking at the guy on the other side, and he's going, oh, man, my chest. Okay. So I said, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Ask him. So anyway, I just changed it up to a reverse punch, won the match. But anyway, that's the kind of thing that can mess you up if you don't have enough tools in your toolbox as you go to the event. So, all right, let's talk about number 3 now, poor sportsmanship. Yes, unfortunately, there are sometimes bad apples in the bunch, and they can spoil an event. I've seen some crazy things over the years, and I'm sure a lot of you have too. Things like spitting on an opponent, hitting an official, officials hitting an athlete, coaches cussing at athletes or officials, and parents, please, parents can sometimes take it way too seriously. It's a tournament. It's a game. It's a contest. It's supposed to be fun. It's not life or death. It's not going to change their future dramatically. Please enjoy the game, enjoy what happens, learn from it. When instructors or coaches show bad sportsmanship, what are we teaching our athletes? Ask yourself the next time, before you do something out of control, what would you do if your student did that to someone? Good question, right? All right. Number 4, injuries. Now, injuries can happen anywhere, anytime, but when they happen at a karate tournament, that can be a terrible ending to the day. Now, a lot of the smaller independent events, a lot of them, they don't even have adequate medical personnel on location to tend to potentially serious injuries. Fortunately, most events, the number and severity of injuries is usually low because of the control, although I have seen some fairly serious accidents. I was taken away from a tournament in an ambulance once. It was not a fun ride home, let me tell you. All right, number 5. A last con, lack of understanding. And this ties back to the first con on losing the essence of Karate Do. And it's that those who are sport karate athletes in sport schools may lack an understanding of the true karate technique, the bunkai, the application of the kata moves, or the self-defense that karate techniques are teaching us. I've seen some sports schools that teach little or no bunkai at all. It is only about doing the form as powerful, fast, and strong as possible. Great! Kata looks terrific, but what does this move do? Quite often, they don't even know. Now, as for Kumite, so many of the techniques that are excellent self-defense moves are illegal in a tournament for safety reasons, and the student never learns those techniques and therefore is not a self-defense expert, so to speak, later on in their career. That's why I believe that a lot of people say, oh, karate isn't good self-defense. Well, that's because you're concentrating too much on the sport aspect of it and the lack of understanding. In Karate Do, you're getting much more understanding, much more of the techniques that are great self-defense techniques. For instance, things like throws and takedowns, locks, holds, chokes, ground fighting, striking vital targets like the eyes, the throat, the groin, etc. And even contact below the belt, things like kicking the legs, kicking the femoral nerves and arteries, kicking the knees out, taking the shins, things like that. All that's missing because it's not legal. All right. So those are my 5 pros and cons. So is karate competition actually good for you? Is karate competition good for the art of karate? In my humble opinion, in a perfect world, I would say yes to both. What do you think? Comment below and tell us if karate competition is good for you as an athlete or good for your athletes if you're a sensei. Let me know your thoughts. Do you have any more pros? Do you have any more cons? Now, in real life, it depends on so many factors, like all things do. It depends greatly on the school, the coach, the sensei. It depends on the event promoters. Choose your events carefully. Look at, do they have the rules posted? Are they part of an organization? The rules in officiating can be a big thing. Like I said, are the rules in writing? Are the officials trained? Or are they just whoever shows up at the event? We need judges for ring 2. And people come out of the stands. The other competitors, a lot of times, as far as their sporting attitude and all. Do they have good sportsmanship? So, is it possible for us as teachers to uphold the traditions of the past and those golden nuggets that those traditions pass on to students while nurturing the athletes of the future? I believe so. Many karate sensei, including myself, try to offer a balance between the art and the sport. I often tell my students, as I'm teaching something, this is the art of karate. In another class, I may tell them, now we're working on sport karate. And we actually have a separate class for training those students interested in just the sport aspect for competition so that they can differentiate between the two. We can try to offer the best of both worlds. I have found that by teaching the art of karate with kata, bunkai, self-defense, character development, my students can also become fantastic competitors because they have great technique and understand it if they want to follow that path of competition. Now, the Olympics is helping to revitalize interest in the traditional art of karate and bring it to the forefront of people's minds. As it is held in the motherland of karate, it has received more publicity than ever before. I mean, it was in the New York Times the other day. Fantastic. That is a good thing for all dojo, sport, and art. Not everyone strives to be an Olympian, but we all want to be better people, and karate can teach us that. I hope you've enjoyed this. I want to, first of all, or lastly, I want to wish all of our Olympic athletes all the best in Tokyo this week, especially those representing us in karate from the USA. And I know all these guys, to Sakura Kokomai, Ariel Torres, Tom Scott, and Brian our very best wishes to all of you for a very successful competition in the Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit the like button. If you would like to subscribe, hit that subscribe button. It's right down there. See it, see it, see it, see it. It's right over there, really. Okay. Hit that subscribe button. Give us a comment. Tell us what you think. Is karate good for competition? Is the competition good for you? We hope to see you soon, and we'll see you next week on Black Belt.